Hi, and welcome to another edition of the Muscle News in collaboration with evolutionofbodybuilding.net. And today we have a really special guest, Ron Harris. I've been
Hey,
wanting
Kevin.
been wanting to meet him for a long time. He's for me, he's a legend in the bodybuilding industry, when it comes to media. He's a great bodybuilder. And he's been around and he's literally done everything when it comes to media. I mean, there's not too many people like you, Ron, huh? They've been around and they stuck around and ups and downs. And sometimes I thought you would like till last year. When it was it? Last year, 2 years ago? How long has it been when Muscular Development shut the doors?
It was November of 2023, so it's been a year and a half now.
Yeah. And you
I'll tell
just
you, it feels like 10 years.
Yeah, and it's like the next week you just started your YouTube, you got your YouTube channel back on, and now you're up there, so it's quite fantastic. So you're originally from Boston,
Yeah, that's right.
so
Yep.
you born there and stayed there, and you know,
So I did live in California for 10 years. I was out there
okay,
from January 91 till almost the end of 2000. That's where I got into the bodybuilding media part of the industry.
all right,
January 1991, I went out there to be an intern for a company called American Sports Network
okay,
that was producing a show called American Muscle Magazine on
yes,
ESPN.
yes, I saw some footage, yeah,
And that was a
yeah,
great show. So he hired me right away.
yeah,
So I was supposed to be in California. I was supposed to be in Los Angeles for 3 months, and I ended up being there for almost 10 years.
yeah, like that I think was one of the first shows to be on television, no? Was it?
Yeah, that was one of the first shows on. It was one of the longest running shows on ESPN, and the company also did 1 hour specials for things like the Mr. Olympia, the Ms. Olympia, the
Yeah,
USA.
yeah.
Yeah, it was a really cool. And then he put on his own. He still puts on his own shows,
Yeah.
the Muscle Mania and the Fitness America pageant, same
Okay.
company.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's amazing that today we are desperate to have something like that, and we don't appreciate that, how 20 years ago, was it 20 years ago? I think it was
30,
back
30.
in the Sean Ray Gaspari days, I guess, right? So,
Yeah.
and people, are desperate to have some, it's like bodybuilding has expanded, but it took a step back in certain things as well. The way I see it, when it comes to media exposure on television, obviously certain things don't help. But it seemed a bit more exciting back then, the way I see it, like you would wait every month for that magazine to come out. Um, I used to live in Toronto, so I used to take my bike, 14, 15 years old. I still didn't have my driver's license to go to the Muscle Max shop
Oh, wow.
in Toronto, and he used to put up the pictures of the Mr. Olympia in black and white on the window, and that's how I would know who won the Olympia. Obviously it was the Lee Haney era, and then obviously the magazines would come out like way afterwards, so it was really amazing back then, and it was always exciting. Like now today, obviously everything's in your face, so
You remember because you're old enough. I
yeah,
used to have to call. I would call gyms up that next morning and say, "Do you know who won the Olympia? Do
yeah,
you know who the top five?" Because there was no streaming.
crazy. It's
It
crazy.
wasn't on TV.
Yeah,
The magazines, like you said, we had to wait like a month to
yeah,
see to see pictures from the Olympia. A
yeah,
month.
yeah, yeah.
They get it all now, like instant.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything's instant.
And how old are you, Ron?
I'm 55. I'll be 56 in September,
Oh,
God
so you're
willing.
as old as me. I'm gonna be 55 in November. So, like, I remember once, Sean Ray with his, you know,
Flat top.
hairdo. He came to Toronto as a guest, in his white limousine and stuff. There was the Canadian Championships or something at the exhibition, and he just found out an hour before that he lost his Arnold Classic, and he mentioned it to the crowd. He said, "I just found out that I lost my title, and it's amazing how things turn. Who would know that 25, 30 years later, I would get to know and meet him a number of times and become friends and things. That's crazy. But you would think back then these guys were superstars. So it was living in Canada. It's not like it was still difficult to meet those type of stars. Back then it wasn't as easy as
Well,
it is.
you say that you made a good point that when you say that, there was more like mystique to it, more magic because
Yeah,
We
Yeah.
only saw these guys in the magazines.
Yeah.
Now these guys, they all have their social media. They all have
Yeah.
YouTube channels.
Yeah.
You see
Yeah.
every little thing they do. We didn't
Yeah.
see that. So to us,
Yeah.
they were larger than life.
Of
They
course.
really were superstars.
Yeah. Yeah. And remember, one or two pro cards a year. So
Yes,
if a guy
yes.
turned pro, you will remember him for the rest of your life. Unfortunately, today, I mean, there's over 1,000 pros from the NPC side, over 1,000 from Rafael's side, for example. You can't keep up with them. You know, it's so funny. You get the one guy that sticks it out, and then maybe he makes a name for himself. You know,
You
so
mentioned Muscle Mag. Muscle Mag every month had a page called Pro Rankings.
yeah, yeah,
And on one page, they had all the male and female IFBB pros in the world ranked.
yeah,
You would need a whole magazine
yeah.
now to list
You
all the
can't do
pros.
that now. You can't do that. It's just too much. You know, but that's another. We can talk about that forever.
Yeah.
So after that time, when you worked on TV and stuff like that, then were you already training to compete back then?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I started competing in 1989 when I was 19 years old, my first show. And I did it. I didn't take too many breaks. I competed from 89 to 2013. So
Wow.
24 years. I did 32 shows, I think,
All
altogether.
right. So you're up there. You're up there.
Yeah.
Had a
Yeah.
good career. You had a good career.
You know what? I enjoyed every second of it. I encourage everyone out there to compete
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
least just once for the
Yeah.
experience.
I
Whether,
competed once. I competed
yeah.
once. I prepared in Canada, but then I moved to Malta and I did the IFBB championships here. I mean, I placed, second in juniors and second in novice and third in the under 65 kilos. So I was really in the lightweight side, but I already knew there and then that I only could arrive so far. So then, obviously, then life gets in the way. You get married, kids, blah blah blah. And then I prefer the media side of things, So, but I mean, even as an amateur, you still enjoyed it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
I made friends competing 30 years ago that I'm still friends with today.
exactly,
So
exactly, exactly. And bodybuilding, you get to meet people from all over the world. And it's like, I mean, I'm talking to you. I mean, most of my friends are for long distance, so for that, I love the sport for that, that part of it. Um, and then did you go straight into muscular development, or did you do?
I started with the TV company 91, and I was with them for like 7.5 years. And it was the second year into working for TV that I started doing the writing on the side. The
Okay,
very first the very first magazine I got an article printed was Iron Man because for the TV, they sent me to go down to the Iron Man headquarters at the time was down in Marina Del Rey, and
okay,
we did an Iron Man Pro contest preview for our show with Lonnie Teeper.
okay.
And while we were there, Steve Holman, I toured the offices, their headquarters, and Steve Holman, the editor of Iron Man, I said, just curious, because I was writing scripts for the TV show already. I said, how does somebody, how do I could I get an article in there? He
Yeah.
said, send me something. If we like it, we'll publish it. So I wrote something up on the word processor. This is
Yeah.
1990, faxed it over on a
Yeah.
fax machine. So that's how we did it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he sent back, he goes, yeah, we like this. Well, and I wrote for them every month for about 15 years.
Wow.
And
Wow.
then the next year I started with Bob Kennedy and Muscle Mag,
Wow.
and I wrote for a couple of their other titles like American Health and Fitness. But Bob
Okay.
and Gino, they were great to me. They gave me a lot of work. I really
Yeah.
owe a debt to the late
Yeah.
Bob Kennedy.
Wow. Wow.
And I wrote for Muscle Media 2000, Testosterone, which became T Nation. I didn't start with muscular development until 2001.
Okay.
So I'd been writing almost 10 years in the magazines by the
Wow.
time I got to MD.
Wow. Say when like mentioning guys, do you know that photographer Raymond Kassar?
Right. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah. He's from Malta as well.
Right. Yeah. I
Yeah.
follow
Yeah.
him. I follow him every day on IG.
That guy, the collection he has of magazines, I don't think anybody in the world has every copy from
Wow.
Flex, Muscle Mag, everything, Muscle and Fitness. He has everything, everything. The guy, I told him once, you need to do a biography or something, man, because I see him a lot, and he's one of the history. He's known Arnold. I mean, he's really close friends with Arnold from way back when he used to compete, and I think I had taken one of the only pictures with him, talking to him and laughing. And Ray told me, he said, nobody ever really took a picture of me with him because we were at the Arnold Europe, and he was. he was joking around with him. And you
Hmm.
don't see Arnold that much, getting, like he's personal with people, and I said that's a good picture to have,
Really?
and and Ray was telling him, look at the guy he's taking us a photo, and Arnold he told him, you never look at the guy taking the photo.
Raymond competed like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, and into his 60s. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, that guy's been around. I mean, he used to live in New York, so all the Olympia's Night of Champions. He's been around. He's seen everything. All the bodybuilders know him. Um, so Muscle Time. Are they Muscle Time? It was.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They did those videos. He's
Yeah.
around. He's been around. You see him in the background. So and then your time with Muscular Development and I think that was the pressure job, eh? You know,
Well, yeah, I miss it. I was freelance for them from 2001 to 2017, to early 2017. I was still writing for all these other magazines, which
yeah,
I actually preferred that because I
yeah,
could write for anybody I wanted. But
yeah,
early 2017, you remember there had been a series of online editors. Like
yeah,
Dave Palumbo was the first one.
yeah, yeah,
Then we had uh, Robbie. What the heck's Robbie? We had a few of them. Anyway,
yeah,
the
yeah,
last one was David Bay, who
yeah,
is the MC of the Arnold
yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah.
So Steve fired Dave
I remember
like
that. I remember that.
the same day. He called me up and says, Ron, you want, I was already doing a ton of writing for them. He said, you want to be our online editor and do the YouTube channel? I'm like, no, no, not really. No, I don't. I was very happy just writing. I
Yeah,
didn't want to do
yeah,
any more,
yeah,
but I
yeah,
took it, and that's people from then on. I think
yeah,
people knew me kind of as the face of MD because I was
yeah,
in all the damn
yeah,
videos. And I look back at my time there and I'm very, very grateful. It was a lot of work, it was a lot of
yeah,
pressure.
yeah.
And there were some people who didn't like Steve or didn't like MD or whatever.
Ah,
We had our
it's
rivalries, but
yeah,
all in all, man, I had a great, great experience over all those years, and the money was good. I mean, I
yeah,
have really nothing to complain about.
yeah.
I
I
I, mi-
mean,
I miss it.
it was a historic magazine, and even online, you guys used to be at all the shows, most of them, maybe near the end it tapered off a bit, but you
Yeah,
guys used to be there, all the good footage, all the good interviews.
yeah,
Obviously, there was that forum.
yeah. Oh
That
God,
that
we took some
exciting. But
abuse.
who still talks to me, like he does some messages here and there, comments. Mike.
Mike Cox. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. He's always been, he's like, he's honest, He's not like that type where he's going at you, He always writes something, and I was like, wow, one guy survived,
And
from that forum, because I
he
mean,
still he works. He helps me out on my channel. I just did a video with him 2 days ago for the
ah,
California Pro Preview.
great, great,
Yeah,
great.
I
No,
love
he's
him.
he's he's one of the good guys. I mean, to just to sum it up, back then, there was the split, and I had a lot of pressure. It's either that way or that way, And obviously, you stay close to the people that you're close with. I mean, where you have access with. So obviously, I'm really close. I don't. I'm not ashamed of it or anything. I'm really close to Rafael and the IFBB. I'm really good friends with Wayne D'Amelia. We talk to each other a lot. He's a historic figure as well in bodybuilding. The history he knows is just incredible. He knows Arnold from when he started to, he knows the sport. He did, I don't know how many Olympias, 10 or 11, So and the New York and the Night of Champions was his,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And
But
but I
correct me
mean
if I'm
to
wrong. Until Wayne began Night of Champions, was there only one pro show a year, the Olympia?
I I don't know. I think there wasn't too many.
No, I want to say, and I'm not 100% sure, but I think 1978, when he started Night of Champions, there were no other pro shows, and after that, they started adding
All
more
right.
shows throughout the
Yeah.
year.
Yeah. And one day I want to get him on the show when he's up to it. And literally you don't find any other promoters that get 12 Olympians, put them on a plane and take them all over Europe. That
Mhm.
that's uh that's a big task, Everybody, who's all these moods and personalities and just putting them on buses and trains and keeping them all together to do this crazy tour. Back then with Ronnie Coleman was just coming up, Kevin Levrone, and all those guys. Kevin used to dominate and until they taught Ronnie how to get ready for the show. So then that went down the drain for everybody. But yeah, that forum, I mean, obviously there was wind that I side, like not side, I mean, but I was like forced to pick a side, really. So I'm not against anybody, but sometimes, there was a time where I was like, Jesus, I couldn't believe there's so much things in the background. And obviously, as you know, and I thank you for always, you know, helping me out on the forum because I used to like the forum, but every time I wrote something, bang, I mean, I remember when I used to write about Michael Crizio, and everybody's like, he's nobody. And look at him now. Look at him
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
Everybody's praising him.
yeah.
And I used to say, this guy is going places, even though he's with another federation,
Right.
he's going places, man. And, he placed third at the New York Pro, I mean,
Yeah.
and he competed at the Olympia already. So, so
I
that's,
mean, obviously, I feel bad for the athletes because some of them are, just because they're with one side or the other,
yeah, yeah.
where
I
they're in
hate
one
it.
federation or the other,
I really hate it, man. I'm telling you, I wish it was I wish there was a common ground. You have your federation, we have ours, but if somebody wants to qualify for the Olympia, there shouldn't be any boundaries. Or if one guy wants to compete with one side. But obviously, it's there's such a gap that it will never happen.
yeah.
So it is what it is. I mean, there's so many federations popping up now. It's just incredible. But anyways, um, obviously, then muscular development. Their time. What was it, Steve, that just said that's it? Or I don't.
Yeah. So Steve was, he was a workaholic.
Yeah,
That guy used to put in, even he was over 70 years old at that point, he was still working. I would estimate like 12 to 14 hours a day
yeah,
because
yeah,
I would get messages from him at all hours. I'm like, this guy's still at it. He's still
yeah,
working.
yeah,
And he
yeah,
was selling advertising for the magazine and he was
yeah,
reading science articles. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
this guy did it all. And I
yeah,
think he had reached a point where, I'm getting older. I'm just guessing. I haven't spoken to him about it,
yeah.
but he'd had many years with his brothers running Twin Lab. Then he had Muscular Development. And,
Okay.
how much longer was he going to keep doing this?
Yeah, yeah.
And he just decided he was going to let the company go,
Wait,
dissolve the company.
why didn't he just sell it to somebody? Somebody surely would have bought that thing out.
He's had a couple offers and he has not accepted any of them. So I don't
Wow.
know. Maybe if somebody makes him the right offer,
Yeah.
because the brand is still a good brand. I
Yeah.
think people would still be interested in. I don't have the money to buy it, but
Yeah.
if somebody did, Muscular Development could still
I
be.
mean, he still owns the domain name. He still owns the YouTube page. They're still there. If I'm not mistaken, the page is still there, right?
Yeah, the website's gone.
Oh, the YouTube page.
The YouTube page is still there, and
All
that's
right.
330,000 subscribers.
I know. I mean, that's
You
a
know,
gold mine.
I
And
just
it's
broke 9,000.
yeah, yeah. I hit 3,000. I'm celebrating. It's like,
Yeah,
wow.
330. So
Yeah,
yeah, somebody could come along and look, you've already got 330
yeah,
subscribers to
yeah.
your YouTube. Because obviously you can't do a print magazine again. Those days are
No,
gone.
no, no.
You can't really do a website anymore. Those days
No,
are gone. But
I'm telling you, like my website's still up. I promote my videos on it, but you spend hours writing, okay? And the only thing, the people you're writing about or something that I mean, listen, you can do results. You can do, Nick Walker trained chest today. So what? People are not, there's nothing to write about. The thing is, unfortunately, death sells. When you write something about death, Jesus, it crashes. It crashes the server. You have to keep upgrading just because
yeah,
of these stories. So, is it worth it um, keeping something like that going when literally nobody has, if everybody wants YouTube, they want things just like this, they want the instant news, instant
yeah.
news, Instagram. What I feel bad for is like these guys are doing, the pay-per-view. And I mean, Steve, they made a note on the New York Pro. Nobody can share and nobody can do. People are just sharing all the footage on Instagram, you
Yeah.
know? And it's like you feel bad for the promoters because, they're putting out a service and they should do a deal with the journalists or whatever journalists, and give them you're allowed to use 2 minutes or whatever, a minute, and that's it. But the
You know what?
media has
I even
become
saw it.
so,
Instagram is one thing, but I see on YouTube, there are some channels, it's usually not US based. They're channels from like places like Brazil or
yeah,
Middle East or whatever. They will stream on their channel
yeah,
the
yeah,
entire pay-per-view, which
yeah,
all it takes is somebody from New York Pro or Olympia
yeah,
to come along and say, hey, they report you to YouTube, and that's a copyright strike.
Yeah, yeah,
I had one on the Olympia, and I wasn't even using the footage that way. So these people, they're just taking a big chance. But you know what it is? Because people just they don't want to pay for anything.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
they'll keep looking on YouTube until they
yeah.
find it for free somehow,
Yeah.
somewhere.
They'll find it.
Yeah.
And you get it in HD and get it everything. I mean, like I'm not saying we'll do a report. I'll use footage from the photographers that take the video, like Jilko and that. But I mean, the footage, I'll put his name running across the screen. I'll put him in the description. I'll put him everywhere. And I tell them, listen, can I use your footage? And they'll say, yeah, just give me a credit. If you don't ask him, that's when they get pissed off, you know? I mean, to report something, it's all right. You know, you're talking about a bodybuilder, you're promoting, but not you rip off a whole event. You know, then it becomes doesn't become fair. You know what I mean? I
I
mean,
mean, and I've said to people who get mad, they say, why can't channel stream the pay-per-view? I said, you don't understand. Like, what if somebody tried that for a UFC fight?
yeah,
You know, UFC, it's like 70 bucks, 70
yeah,
bucks US
yeah,
to buy a title match
yeah,
pay-per-view.
yeah.
If I want to put that on my channel,
You get
here's
strike.
UFC. My channel will be gone in a minute, you know,
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's true.
because
I mean,
you're stealing their money.
yeah, yeah. I mean, not knowing, I used to put up, pictures of Ed Corney and whatever, Franco Colombo and the old time Tom Platz. And I used to get these, legal emails from the photographers, I'm not going to mention who they are, but and I would contact them and say, listen, your credit wasn't there. I had no idea you took these pictures. And I would have to stay removing everything. Like these are pictures that are 30, 40 years old,
Yeah.
and they
Mhm.
still they hire companies in Europe from America and they check websites for so it's become very difficult, you have to be careful today. I mean, they have every right to as well because
That's their work. That's their
yeah,
property.
they took the picture. Um so after muscular development, you started up again and
Mhm.
it started a bit slow, but now it took off. I mean, yes, last week was the highlight with Milos and
Just 2 days ago.
2 days ago. It was it 2 days ago? Because I
Yeah.
watched it. I was listening to it in my car going to work. I'm like, what the hell is happening? So I
Right.
watched it again to see your expression. You're just looking at them, going at it.
Yeah, for those who don't know, on my channel I had Milos and Giles. We did an
Yeah,
episode where it went 2.5 hours, and
yeah,
the
yeah,
last it went like an hour too long. I should have stopped it.
yeah,
You know, I had never had people angry like that, yelling and screaming and
yeah,
cursing on my channel before.
yeah,
So I was on, I'm overwhelmed, Kevin. I'm sitting there. Well, should I
yeah.
stop it? And I should have stopped it. I should
Yeah,
have
but
stopped it.
listen, that's a springboard. Believe me, that entire show is gonna help you out. I'm telling you. But Milos recently, he's been really passionate.
Yeah.
I'm seeing him the older he's getting, the more passionate, and he wants to put his point across. You
Yep.
know, he'll go all out against you. You know what I mean? I can understand him. I understand this point, but you can't really force it onto other people. Because
Yeah. Yeah.
Giles, I understood Giles like saying, listen, I think it was Giles didn't want him to do the show, right? He didn't want Good Vito to do the show.
Yeah, Giles had made a comment on Instagram that
Yeah.
in somebody's post that he didn't see the benefit of Vito
Yeah.
doing it. He should have
That's it.
just sat the show out,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that upset Milos. And it was because Milos, as we know, he did 72 pro
Yeah.
shows.
Yeah. Yeah.
He only won one show,
Yeah. Canada. Yeah.
but he said I got to stand up next to Dorian, Ronnie,
Yeah. Yeah.
Kevin,
Yeah.
Nasser, Vince Taylor, all these great
Yeah.
Olympians.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even though I knew there was no way I was going to beat Flex Wheeler or these guys,
Yeah.
I still had that experience and I wouldn't have traded it for the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
So I understand his point of view,
Yeah.
but he was trying to push his opinion.
Yeah.
He wanted Giles to say I'm wrong and Milos you're right,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Giles wouldn't budge.
I
Giles
mean,
just
I
would
love
not.
my Milos. We talk a lot. I give him my opinions, and he he uh, he gives me his opinion. I mean, it's not the first time I wrote a story, and he tells me take that down, and it's like,
Yeah.
come on, man, it's a good story, I mean, but especially if you write about his athletes, and he's a protective guy, he goes all out for what he's one in a million, he's really passionate about the sport.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's whether you love him or hate him, you have to admire he
yeah,
is that passionate. He loves the sport.
yeah,
He
yeah,
cares about the athletes.
yeah,
He
yeah,
wants all the pros to do well.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know what? I his delivery style was a little abrasive.
Yeah, he was good.
Uh, he called Giles a lot of nasty
Yeah, yeah.
things.
I couldn't believe it. I had to watch it twice. I was like, holy cow, man.
And I was like, YouTube's going to demonetize this video
Yeah.
because there's too many F bombs. You can swear a little bit, but if it's too much, they
Yeah,
take you.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He was going at it. And I mean, we're soon, time is soon up.
I'm not in a rush.
What future plans do you have, Ron? Are you gonna just stay on YouTube, or do you want to
Yeah.
expand somehow, or do anything else?
I do want to grow my YouTube channel more. It's
Okay.
starting to take off a little bit now.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
like I said, I started that channel in 2006.
yeah,
So it's not a new channel. It's
yeah.
almost 20 years old at this
But
point.
you let it be sometimes, right?
I
Yeah,
didn't do anything with it
yeah,
for a
yeah,
very long time.
yeah,
Just little videos here. And the whole time I was with MD as online editor, I didn't do anything because I
yeah,
didn't want a conflict of interest. Because Steve was paying me good money to produce content for MD.
yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
think it was right for me to on the
No,
side
no.
do more.
Yeah, yeah,
But once MD was gone, so I
yeah.
want to keep growing the channel. I'm lucky that because of all the contacts I made, I'm able to get some pretty good guests. I had
Of
Dorian
course.
Yates on a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I've had like Sean Ray was on the week before that. People that I've known for many, many years.
yeah.
I've also still writing. I'm just publishing my fourth book as an ebook called
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever heard A Bodybuilder is Born is a series that I wrote originally way back in the early 2000s.
No, I
It was
didn't know
first
about
in
this.
it
Yeah.
was in Perilla Performance Press. It took 55 months to complete because I did one chapter a month.
Okay.
It took 55, there's 55 chapters. So then Iron Man magazine reprinted it
Okay.
month by month. It took them years to get it out. And then bodybuilding.com had it up for a while. I think it's gone
Wow.
now. So I just reprinted that. So I'm going to keep writing because
Good.
it bothers me. That was already written. I just sort
Yeah.
of compiled it and did some touch
Okay.
ups to it. But I want to keep writing again because when, it really bothered me. I've, since I've been out, I've written two books since I left, since
Okay.
MD's developed. Because I am a writer, and I'm not the greatest writer, but I love to write, and
Yeah.
I'm a
Yeah.
good writer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
Good.
want to keep writing,
Okay.
um,
Yeah.
and I'd like to get back into contest coverage, but like right now, I can't. I don't have the money to be flying all over the
Oh,
place.
it's
It's a lot.
difficult. I mean, it's a shame that we can't, sometimes you don't get the right sponsors to, yeah, like the way I see it, they'll spend millions to just put something on the back of a bodybuilder on the stage. All right, fair enough. I'm not telling people, but you get a media guy like you or me or whoever else, and you don't ask for that much money. You
Right.
just to get by, or to do something related to the sport, and it becomes difficult, that you get a lot of more many no's and a few yeses,
Well,
but
I want to give credit because I do have a limited. It's not going to be forever, but like right now, I'm sponsored by. There's a show called Euro Muscle Show.
okay,
It's a big expo in Amsterdam in July.
all right,
Matthew Purcell, he's from the UK, but he puts it on, and he's been sponsoring my channel for the past couple months and
great,
another
great,
month
great,
or two, and
great,
I'm
yeah.
grateful for that. But like you said, it's not easy. It's not easy getting
No, no.
sponsors.
I mean, amazingly, right before COVID, I hit my peak. I was getting sponsored from everywhere, Obviously, there was some bumps in the road, but after COVID, I mean, the pandemic, it just, it it's like the companies are keeping their, you know,
While it's tight,
the wallets
yeah.
tight for, it's so, but unfortunately, that's the industry, and we try to move on. I mean, and uh and you also write, going moving away from bodybuilding, you're into the horror genre, right?
Oh, I love horror.
Yeah, and you wrote some books as well, right?
Yeah, I have two horror short story collections
Yeah.
available on Amazon. One's called Evil Times 10, Tales of Extreme Darkness, and the other one's called Rough Nights. Because I don't sit up at night watching people say, "Did you watch this podcast?" So like,
Yeah.
I watch horror movies.
Yeah.
I've seen thousands and thousands of
Yeah.
horror movies. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
I got
Yeah.
Reagan from The Exorcist there. I got that's from Evil Dead. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love those films. I love it. I
yeah,
mean, I try to watch as much as I can. I love the horror genre as well. I mean, we grew up, back then, you remember Friday the 13th, Halloween,
oh, dude. I mean,
Poltergeist, Exorcism, Jaws, and all these stuff, and you know, it's good. It's good you have another outlet other than bodybuilding. Everybody has. You can't just be bodybuilding only. I mean, we all love it, but it gets to you sometimes. You have to cut off sometimes, because there's other sports. Do you watch other sports or anything like that? Nothing?
I never like sports.
Really? No.
No.
Yeah.
I've been called un-American because I don't like football or baseball. I have no interest. I just
Yeah,
don't
no,
care.
I like soccer. Football in Europe, soccer in the States. In Europe, it's huge,
I
so
know.
yeah, so I follow that a lot. Formula One, car racing. I'm an all-rounder, but then people tell me, how do you follow bodybuilding? I said, I don't know. I grew up since 14, 13, 14, the Incredible Hulk, you watch Pumping Iron. There used to be the competitions on the Wild World of Sports. I remember it on TV, watching them. And then you just start getting into it. You go to the gym, you start like, I used to go to, what's his name? Jeez, I forgot his name. He was a Canadian pro. He lived in Toronto. Not Steve Brisbois, the other guy. I
Mm,
used to go to his gym. I can't remember his name at the moment. Um, he had a gym in Toronto. He was a pro.
yep.
And what's his name used to train there as well. Chris Aceto's former wife. What's her
Laura
name?
Cravell.
Yeah, I tra
Okay.
I remember walking to the gym and she was training legs at her peak.
Wow. Wow.
That was something to see. And
Yeah.
Henderson Thorne, that's the guy. You
Oh,
remember him?
Henderson Thorne. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
That was his gym.
Yeah.
She
Okay.
used to she used to train. There was supposed to a World's Gym was supposed to open. Something happened. They took our membership money, and somehow Henderson Thorne got involved in it, and he said we can use his gym. And I used to
Wow.
drive. I used to drive to his gym, and back then it was a totally different thing. I was still young, and I used to ask him, "How can I be like you?" He would just say, "Just keep eating and training. That's it. You can't do that today. How
No.
can I be like you? It'd be a totally different story."
Yeah, I think you and I are both very, very lucky
Yeah,
that we came up in the time that we did.
yeah,
Because, like, I was in Los Angeles in the 1990s.
yeah,
I
yeah,
trained at Gold's Gym Venice when I
yeah,
could walk in there and there'd be like, it was like a magazine. There were like
yeah,
10 to 20 pros anytime you
yeah,
walked in there.
yeah,
And then you could walk 2 blocks down the street. There'd
yeah,
be like 5 or 6 of them eating at the
yeah,
firehouse.
yeah,
There'd be,
yeah,
there'd be clothing stores that just sold bodybuilding
yeah,
clothing.
yeah,
It
yeah.
was and then you had the
That,
Venice Beach boardwalk right
yeah,
there. It was a mad. But now, bodybuilding. Everyone used to be either lived in Los Angeles
yeah.
or they would spend time there. There was a hotel, Marina Pacific. All
Okay.
the European bodybuilders would spend like a month every year
Yeah, yeah,
before the Olympia or something. They come out and train,
yeah.
and
It was, it was a,
everybody's all over the world.
yeah, yeah. It was a different time. I'm glad I experienced it. Obviously, you touched it. You had a bigger experience, but it was great. Anyways, Ron, we're gonna end it here. Hopefully, we can meet up again, maybe after an event, or I might be doing a new show once a week. I'm in planning with my good friend Eric Brozer. Do you know Eric Brozer, that trainer?
I know of him very well. He wrote for
Yeah.
Iron Man.
We might be teaming up to do something, it's on a weekly basis. He could be a guest or something like that.
They call
We'll
him.
see.
He's called Merlin, like the
Yeah,
magician.
Merlin. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, good stuff.
So we'll
You know
see.
where you know where to find me, Kevin.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Ron. Really
Well,
appreciate it.
thanks for having me, Kevin.
And
Appreciate it.
I'll put all your links in the YouTube thing. Thank
Awesome,
you.
man. Thank
Thank you,
you.
buddy. Thank you.